Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Today, we're looking at something pretty wild. We're going to explore how human drama is actually processed, observed, and ultimately finalized. But we're doing it through two wildly different lenses: the artful eye of an indie filmmaker and the cold, bureaucratic machinery of the legal system. I know, it sounds like a totally bizarre pairing, but stick with me because by the end of this, you're going to see exactly how artists and, say, legal clerks use structure to navigate the absolute messiest parts of the human experience. So, here's a big question to kick things off. How do you reveal the hidden truths of a crumbling relationship without saying a single word? It's really the heart of what we're looking at today. Because whether you're watching a tense drama unfold on a movie screen, or you're sitting at a kitchen table staring blankly at a stack of state-mandated paperwork, the heaviest truths, they are rarely spoken out loud. Instead, we're going to see how shifting our physical perspective, literally moving a camera or filing a legal form, can reveal some incredibly uncomfortable truths about our relationships. All right, here's our quick roadmap. We'll start with the cinematic dolly shot, move into revealing uncomfortable subtext, and then explore the monstrous everyday reality. After that, we'll break down the simple scene of divorce, the mechanics of serving legal papers, and finally, documenting that final frame. Okay, part one, the cinematic dolly shot. So what is a dolly shot exactly? Well, at its core, it's just a physical movement that literally changes the audience's perspective completely without dialogue. And what's cool is it's surprisingly low tech. You don't need fancy drones or massive cranes. You could literally use a cheap slider or even a wheelchair to get the shot. Its sheer simplicity forces the filmmaker to ask, what is this movement actually doing? Because, a long take with a moving camera doesn't just hand you the answers on a silver platter like a quick editing cut would. It teases out information. It forces you to just sit in the moment and really ask yourself what's being revealed or what's being intentionally hidden just out of frame.
Which brings us to part two, revealing uncomfortable subtext.
Think about the movie Animal Kingdom. If you look at it just on a purely textual level, the scene is so mundane. The text is literally just characters falling asleep while watching TV and a girl being moved to a bed. But the camera executes this incredibly slow dolly move. It establishes the room, and then it just lingers. It lingers on the character Pope's longing expression before finally cutting back to the sleeping girl. The unwritten subtext that the camera forces on us, pure, menacing tension. Without a single word of threatening dialogue, the physical push-in of the lens tells us one thing: be very afraid of Pope.
And we see this everywhere in classic cinema. Take Taxi Driver. Martin Scorsese uses this completely unmotivated dolly shot where the camera literally moves away from Travis talking at a payphone. It visually communicates this terrible, crushing loneliness that words just couldn't capture. Or in Fargo, there's a classic agonizingly slow push-in that subtly crops out extra information from the room, putting so much pressure on the character that the window blinds behind him literally start to look like prison bars. And then you have a film like The Piano Teacher, where these crisp, objective tracking shots maintain a perfect frame that totally refuses to interpret the character's behavior for us. It creates a highly uncomfortable, empathetic distance. Basically, the moving camera forces us to confront the uncomfortable, either by dialing up the pressure or by remaining completely, terrifyingly indifferent.
Moving on to part three, the monstrous everyday reality. Taking a cue from this really fascinating academic thesis on French cinema, which literally puts the words sensual, monstrous, and everyday right in the title, we see that the monstrous and the mundane are often deeply connected. I mean, the most profound, earth-shattering shifts in our lives don't usually happen with dramatic explosions, right? They happen in the most ordinary, boring spaces, hidden right behind everyday routine actions.
And honestly, the real-world equivalent of stripping away all that emotion to focus on raw cinematic tension. It is the grueling, bureaucratic paperwork of ending a marriage. Just imagine this simple scene. You're sitting at a normal kitchen table, pen in hand, quietly filling out a Maine Judicial Branch FM004 complaint for divorce. There's no swelling orchestral score in the background, but the subtext, it is absolutely massive.
Let's look closer at that in part four, the simple scene of divorce. Just like how a dolly shot removes extraneous information from a movie screen to focus your attention, these Maine judicial forms strip away all the messy, complicated emotions of a marriage. The court does not care about the arguments, the heartbreak, or the shared history. It cares about objective facts: assets, custody, child support, real estate. Boom. That blank form, that is the starting frame of our bureaucratic dolly shot.
It removes all the noise so we can focus purely on the cold, hard reality of the situation. And the rigid, austere reality of this everyday monster is broken down into a highly structured three-part legal process. Step 1, fill out the forms, like the Family Matters summary sheet and the complaint itself. Step 2, serve those forms to the defendant. And Step 3, file them, along with proof of service, within a super strict 20-day timeline. It is an unrelenting procedural march forward. Honestly, it's just like a slow tracking shot that simply cannot be stopped once you set it into motion.
Much like our film examples earlier, we have a striking duality happening here. The actual text of this process is incredibly dry. It's checking a box that says title to real estate involved. It's providing social security number disclosures on some form called the CV-CR-FM PC200. But the unwritten subtext? Wow. The subtext is the grueling, austere, and permanent dissolution of a family. It's the heartbreaking division of an entire shared human life, reduced completely to checkboxes and notarized signatures.
Which brings us to the actual delivery in Part 5, serving the legal papers. Notice how these three distinct, totally dry methods for serving papers leave absolutely zero room for emotional interpretation. You can serve by regular mail, just hoping they sign the acknowledgement of receipt within 20 days. You can march down to the post office and demand certified mail with a return receipt and restricted delivery. Or you can literally pay a fee for a county sheriff's deputy to show up and hand-deliver the original summons. It is an unrelenting procedural push. Just like the camera in The Piano Teacher, the legal system offers absolutely no empathy here, only objective requirements. And this everyday reality requires intense precision. Look at the instructions. They literally tell you, always use full legal names, not nicknames, and type or print neatly. You even have to figure out where to make your own copies because guess what? The court clerk will not do it for you. This is the ultimate objective tracking shot of a dissolving relationship. No nicknames, no emotion, just factual compliance and making your own copies at the local library.
Finally, Part 6, documenting the final frame. These secondary forms are essentially our final close-up. They really pressure the characters to definitively divide their lives. You disagree on something? Bam, you face the grueling 11-page financial statement, the FM043, where you have to itemize every single bank account, vehicle, and life insurance policy. No dispute? Okay, you file a certificate in lieu. And the deadlines act as final editing cuts. The certificate regarding real estate is due exactly 7 days before the final hearing. The child support worksheet due 3 days prior. These forms force a resolution and permanently cut to black on the scene.
So, as the camera finally stops moving and the last piece of paperwork is filed, I want to ask you, how will the subtext of your own life be captured? Will it be through the warmth of a camera lens or the cold ink of a legal form? It's a heavy thought to leave you with, I know. But whether we're watching a masterful dolly shot in a film or methodically checking boxes on a main judicial branch divorce complaint, the goal is the same: to process our deepest unspoken conflicts. Understanding how artists and bureaucrats capture the subtext of human drama is absolutely essential to mastering the stories we tell about ourselves. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this gives you a completely new perspective on both the art of cinema and the hidden mechanics of our everyday lives.